Hey, it's Keisha here with Defending the Early Years podcast. We'll be focusing on amplifying the voices of early childhood educators, advocates, and all of those who love children. Hey, Alissa, welcome back for part 2. Your first chat was so wonderful. I got so much out of it myself, so I know the listeners did. But now I want to fast forward a little bit to now. Right now you're working at NACI.
Mhm.
You are making, you're a part of some big shifts and changes that I see happening there. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what your role is and kind of what you have in mind for your goals there?
Sure. So I am the Senior Director for Early Learning Program Accreditation at NACI. And so basically what that means is I have a team that works with me that we manage the accreditation system for early learning. That system has already gone through some huge shifts over my time in the field. I think we're going to be going through more shifts. There's just so much happening in early childhood right now with some of the stuff that's happening. There's just so much happening right now with Build Back Better on the cusp of coming through, states really thinking about what they can do to support not only educators through COVID, but also as we move forward. And there's a lot of things that I think that didn't go well for early childhood in the past that we have an opportunity to think about differently. And I think accreditation is one of those things. So a big thing that's happening in our early learning program accreditation right now is I have our accreditation council who oversees the accreditation thinking with me about equity and really thinking about who has access to NACI accreditation and who doesn't. And for those who don't have access, what needs to change so that this can be a system that really does meet the needs of any program in any part of the country, serving any population of children that wants to have access to it.
That is a wonderful goal. It's a really wonderful goal. Can you tell us, let's say I'm a program and, a medium-sized program, and I'm looking to, up our quality. I'm looking to, make what we're offering the best that it can be for children. And I'm looking to NACI because NACI is in my eyes, and has always been in my work with early childhood, like the epicenter of early childhood education. They have always told us what it's supposed to look like, right?
Right.
So what are the steps? What do I need to do if I am looking to become an accredited program?
Yeah. So really the first step is we have a whole page on the website that's devoted to accreditation, and it's going to lay out exactly what a program needs to know. It's going to lay out the steps in the process. You have access to the tools that the actual assessors that come into your program will use. So there's no secrets. You know exactly what they're going to be looking for when they come in. There's resources there on how to create your portfolio, which is, one of the more challenging things for a program. It's usually not the practice that's the challenge. It's the documentation of the practice. And then there's going to be trainings and resources on, how to be successful in the program. And so I would just encourage people that if you're interested, if you think this is something that you want to do, you can register. That's the first step, is to complete the registration. Once you enroll in our accreditation process, you're going to have access to every single resource that we have. So, there's definitely stuff you can start to do before that point, but really that's where you're going to find all of the resources and tools that you need to be able to begin that journey. In some states, there are what we call accreditation facilitation projects. And those are organizations that have been tasked to help coach, mentor, provide technical assistance to programs that are interested in accreditation. And so that list is also on the NACI website. And so definitely take a look and see if there's someone in your state that's doing that work. That's how I was able to be a successfully accredited program as a director, was because in Indiana, we had Indiana Association for the Education of Young Children who had coaches and mentors that were able to help you walk through that accreditation process. Anybody that is interested in providing high quality is fully capable of being able to do this. There's some financial barriers that I know are real for people, but also when you access some of those state level resources, sometimes funding is included there. So I definitely would say if you're interested, find the list of accreditation facilitation projects, reach out at the state level and see if there's funding available as well as coaching and support.
Well, I know that you guys have produced a document, have for years, the developmentally appropriate practice, I guess, would you call it a workbook, or what is the official name of the document?
Well, I guess it's just a book, developmentally appropriate practices.
And I know there's an updated version. Can you tell us what's different? What's new? What is the latest and greatest out of NACCE as far as developmentally appropriate practice is concerned?
Yeah, so developmentally appropriate practices has been the foundation for all of the work that happens in classrooms. And NACCE has, talked about developmentally practices for many years. One of the criticisms that has come out about DAP over the years is that because our research base in early childhood education has primarily been centered on the experiences of white children, that developmentally appropriate practices wasn't always culturally relevant. And so I'd say that's the huge change that has come with this new 5th edition that's out now. Not only is there an emphasis on equity and cultural responsiveness in every chapter of the book, they've also done an excellent job at bringing in a diverse group of authors. And so this book is no longer authored by like one person. And Sue Brittakamp was the author for many, many years and was able to bring DAP to where it was today. But for this new edition, they kind of took a step back and said, we need more voices in order for this to be the set of practices or ideals that we want this profession to adopt and accept and put forth in their work. Like, we have to bring more voices to the table. And so I was able to read some of the chapters during the development, and I was just so impressed at how diverse the voices were. Equity is a huge thing for me. And so like seeing that come to life in every chapter. So whether we're talking about, infants and toddlers or preschoolers, or we're talking about curriculum, or we're talking about families, like it's all there in every word that we are looking at this through an equity lens. So I think that's really exciting.
I think that is exciting. Where can we get the book? Because I need to have that book.
Yeah, so you can order it on the NACCE website, and you can also buy on Amazon. I know that the first round of copies have started going out, so I think the pre-order time is over, but definitely take a look. Either way you buy it, you can get it. I like to buy things from Amazon because I get them quicker sometimes, but you should be able to get it in either place. And I know there's more resources coming out. Oh, here's the other thing I love about the book. In one of the appendices, there are, it's like a whole section of stories that are from actual educators in the classroom that are highlighting the concepts that are throughout the book. And so some of my really good friends have some stories in there. Nadia Haboneta is one of my dearest friends who does amazing work in San Francisco. I think she has a couple of stories in there. Just really great ways to be able to kind of read that theoretical space and then see what it looks like in practice, which I think is the most important part.
Yes, and to include our voices, the voices of the people who are actually working with children. And I think that a lot of time is what is missing from policy and from, even accreditation programs, or, the reality of what we live every day. Does this make sense to what we live every day? So that makes me feel hopeful that the voices and stories of the early educators are in the book, because it kind of says, look, this can happen. This can be done. This is what it looks like. And a lot of us need that. So kudos to NACI for thinking to include that. It is a big deal that we are talking about equity and inclusion. It is a big deal that we're looking through a lens that, a lens that speaks to all.
Mhm.
That is a shift that I am really excited to see and be a part of. I'm so happy that you are a part of it. I want to know if you can tell me something specific. Like, what is a specific change that we're going to see that will, I guess, what is the word I'm looking for? A specific change that we're going to see in the NACI developmentally appropriate practice that's going to resonate with people that maybe did not feel their voice was heard in other editions. So what's going to make me say, okay, they are considering me. They are considering the voices of a more diverse, you know, group of educators or a group of children or families.
I think one of the things that's most important to me, as an educator, as a mother, as someone who cares deeply about young children and their having the opportunity to be seen and heard in their prospective classrooms, wherever those might be. I think we've learned a lot over the past 5 years or so about what's really going on for Black children, Black boys, especially in classrooms across the country. And so the new edition of DAP really speaks directly to that. Brian Wright wrote a chapter, and I can't remember which one it is right now, but all his research base is around Black boys and finding opportunities for success for Black boys in the classroom. And so this edition calls it out, which I think is so important. I think a lot of times in early childhood, we are just trying to be so nice. And so we don't say the hard thing. And so that's what I appreciate about this edition. That's what I appreciate about a lot of the NACI resources that have come out. And since the Advancing Equity statement that came out in 2019, I feel like we're finally talking about what the problems are, instead of just pretending oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows and we're so nice and we include everyone. Well, sometimes we do. And I think that's the other important thing that started with the updated position statement for developmentally appropriate practice is what's developmentally appropriate? It depends. But there isn't one right way to do it. And I think that's where we failed in historically is, saying that there's one right way. This is how you do it. And it's based on white middle class norms. And so if you are, an immigrant and come with a different cultural lens, if you are someone that is living in poverty and your experience is much different, you don't see yourself in the recommendations for what should be happening for you as an educator, for children, for your families. But I think this is just taking a step back to say wow, there's a lot of right ways.
I love that. Thank you so much. I love that. I think everybody needs to go out and get that book. It would be wonderful to read, like you talked about working with books in the last episode. Mm-hmm. You talked about working with your teachers, reading a book, mm-hmm. studying a book and working together. I think this would be a great one for that, to just break it down over a year, over 2 years, however long it takes, but to just break down what does it mean when we say high quality? What does it mean when we say best practices or developmentally appropriate practice? Because I think we use those words so interchangeably. Mm-hmm. And as a field, I don't know if we have clarified or agreed on what that means. So to have this document come from such a central entity in our field I think can be nothing but positive. So I'm going to get the book and I am going to really, really look at it, read it, and learn from it and see where this because I'm a Black woman, but I have grown up with all types of people, but mostly predominantly white communities, but especially for my adulthood. And the lens that they see through is the same lens that I'm living in, right? So sometimes I need to step back and say, okay, their culture or my culture may be different from theirs. How can we figure out a way that everyone's voice makes sense, a way that everyone's voice has say here. So, an example that I can give is having a family come from another country. We had a family that came from India, and they were newer in our area, and their daughter used the bottle, and we
Mhm.
were it's an older preschool classroom. And being an American, your first thought is, well, we stop bottles at about one or two, and we're just so used to seeing things through our own lens and the
Mhm.
way that we do it, and deciding that that is correct.
Yeah.
So it really gave, like I said, I learned everything I learned. Well, most of what I learned from families and children. And it really gave us a chance to step back and say, wait a minute, their voice, their perspective, their ideas, their family values, their ways of doing things are no less important than what we believe is correct. So it's
Right.
really those experiences over and over and over throughout the years have really opened up my eyes and mind. And not to mention just being myself and having children of my own, and
Mm.
having to be on the other side of that, where maybe someone else's culture um, looked at mine in a way that, wait a minute, you do what? And it's
Right.
like, no, that's normal for us. So that, along with the internet opening up the world to us, being in these groups or work sessions or what have you with people from all over the world, it really reminds you that your little spot in on this earth is not the only, the
Right.
only lens to look through. So yeah, that's wonderful that NACI is really letting not only the voices of the people who are doing this work, who are largely minorities,
Mhm.
with people doing this work, but also making sure that our measurement tool is set to measure our diversity and not
Right.
just in one metric. So
Right.
thank you so much. Any new projects coming up? What are you working on now? What's the big thing at NACI now? What should we be looking for?
Um, Goodness. At NACI specifically, I would say, I mean, a lot of work went into this new edition of DAP. And so I think it's kind of like it's still happening. There's some additional resources that will come out along with that. But right now, I think that everything's just kind of moving forward with, once this update to DAP happened, it trickled down, and we made some updates to accreditation to match what was happening in DAP. We'll be doing some additional accreditation updates and changes over the next couple of years. So no one needs to get worried about it right now, but we definitely want to just make sure that accreditation is keeping up with the times. And I've heard, even before I came to this position, I heard people saying that and I saw it too, that certain types of programs in certain communities weren't NACI accredited. It tended to be programs that were in higher income areas, programs that were funded, through the state or through, an outside source. Like, they were able to figure out accreditation, but the individual mom and pop programs that many children are receiving really great care and education at did not have access. And so I think that's the most important thing for me, is making sure that any program that wants to be accredited can see themselves in the system and can access the system. And the other part is, I'm a Reggio inspired educator. And so, like, I want to see more progressive programs in our system, because there's definitely ways that you can fit all of those things together. And when we have more Reggio or Montessori or Waldorf programs that are in this system, like, it's going to open up to say, like, wow, there are so many options, and there are many right ways to provide high quality education.
Mhm. What about play-based programs, like just plain old play-based programs? Do
Yeah.
they have is the accreditation going to be a reality for them, for us?
Yeah, I really think so. And I mean, that's what I would say, that is, I was an accredited program at St. Vincent. We were 100% play-based. We found ways to be able to I won't say manipulate, because that sounds negative, but we were able to make the rules work for us. And so, NACI is not telling you, like, you have to have lesson plans that look like this, or you have to do, this kind of, communication with your families, or you have to provide this sort of curriculum. We're just saying, like,
My
here's the
question.
things. that are important for young children. And it's all based on developmentally appropriate practices. So how you do that, that's really up to you.
Okay. I was going to say, because through my lens, being a person who's really passionate about play and role in the lives of the young children, I feel like it should be so easy for a high quality play-based program to get this accreditation, because it's like, that's what we know is developmentally appropriate for children. Right. Obviously, there are the whole circumference of things that NACCE is about when it comes to family engagement and materials and, staff training and all of those things I know are also a part of the accreditation. But I guess for me, I'm looking for an accreditation that fits, that I just can go and get it. I don't have to tweak the way I record. Right. To make it fit, because I'm supposed to have a plan, but I don't really have a lesson plan because I follow alongside the children, or things come more naturally. So I'm looking for something that has the diversity to fit a program like mine, where I'm not feeling like I'm shifting outside of what our philosophy is. Sure. Does that make sense?
And that was one of the big things that we changed at St. Vincent, was the planning process, because, my experience in all of my years of being a director of coaching is when I saw programs that planned, did a weekly plan where the teacher sat down on Monday and wrote out everything that's going to happen for the week. One of two things happened. Either the teacher stuck to that plan like it was, like she would explode if she didn't do exactly what happened and the children were miserable, or the teacher wrote it down because she was supposed to, but did whatever the children wanted to do. Either way isn't good. So, it's like we started not planning in advance, but just recording what happened as it happened. And then that was a way that our teachers could then reflect on the day and say, what might I add tomorrow that might help to extend what happened today? And so I think that there's lots of ways that you can go about that, where you are being intentional about what you're offering for the children, but the children have a voice there, and you're not telling them what they're going to do. They're telling you what they want to do, and then you're just helping to facilitate it.
Okay. And that way of doing things works for NACCE, works for the new NACCE.
What I could say is that we did that in my program and we were accredited. You were accredited.
All right now, Alissa, I'm going to be near your house when time comes. Well, thank you so much. Can you remind us again where we can get the book, and if you have it on hand, the website for NACCE?
Yeah, so just definitely go to www.naeyc.org. If you look there, you'll be able to see, there's an accreditation page, there's resources, there's the store where you can purchase publications. It's all there. And I would also say, if you're not a member, you should definitely think about membership. Our membership starts at $30 a year. With that $30, you get the e-journal. So either Young Children, which is the research journal, or Teaching Young Children, which is more practitioner focused. I think they're both great, but you get that electronically every other month, I believe. And then there's some other benefits as well. You'll get discounts on books. So if you're going to buy the book, get the membership and you'll get a discount. And then you can, get other books in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you again for all the wonderful work that you're doing for young children and for educators alike.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
And that was another episode of the Defending the Early Years podcast. Defending the Early Years works to support the rights and needs of young children nationally. Learn more at DEY.org. Pay us a visit, sign up for our newsletter, or connect with us on social media. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.